Hello and welcome to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction and audio fiction. This is the series All I Want for Christmas, part of Holiday Magic Season, and this is the final part 7. So I hope you're enjoying it. Massive shout out to the artist. All her information is in the description below for using her art for the thumbnail. Give me some love by smashing that like button, comment down below what you think of the final part, and subscribe because this might be the final part of this series, but in January in 2022 there is so much more to come, so make sure you don't miss out, and I hope you enjoy. Part 7. A Silly Kitty. Adrien's POV. He couldn't help grinning at the blush fixed constantly across her cheeks as she kept glancing down at their held hands. Wisps of the air floated out in front of them, revealing how cold it was, but for Adrien, it could be a hot summer's day for the warmth he felt inside of him. So, what's the plan, Adrien? What do you need for this project? I still haven't seen the designs. Oh, yeah! Adrien came to a sudden stop, grabbing for his bag, causing Marinette to stumble on a lip in the snow and crashed into him. He spun around, wrapping his arms around her, placing them both off balance as he slipped on a smooth patch. With a thud, they hit the freshly powdered snow, his hand cradling her head against his chest. Embarrassed and yet happy to hold her so close, he took in the moment of feeling the weight of her on him, their hearts pounding together. Marinette let out a light giggle as she wiggled out of his grasp, muttering, "I'm sorry, No, that was my fault. I was the one who—" He caught sight of her ocean eyes glancing up at him. They were close enough. He could close the gap, lean in and— She continued to wiggle, placing her hands out and pushed away. "If you wanted to make snow angels first, you could have just said," she said, trying to make light of the awkward situation as she straightened her jacket and purse. "What? You mean like this?" He gave her a smirk and waved his arms and legs out, up and down, side to side, brushing the snow into small mounds. His heart skipped a beat as she burst out laughing. "Silly kitty!" A huge grin spread across his lips. She had seen his cat side without a mask. This was working. She continued to laugh as she lowered herself down beside him and mirrored his actions. For the next 5 minutes, the pair of them chuckled, making exaggerated wings in the snow, not caring who should see them. Adrien jumped to his feet first and offered his hand out for Marinette. Taking it, she gave it a tight squeeze, but held her eyes down as he brushed the snow out of her hair. Oh, how much he wanted to kiss her, to express the love he had for her, but was she ready to hear it yet? Instead, he leaned in and kissed her softly on her forehead. His warm lips lingered against her cold skin, breathing in the smell of snow, blended in with vanilla, sugar, and a hint of Christmas spice. If only he could bottle this smell, to have a constant reminder of this moment. Reluctantly, he pulled back and saw her gaze up at him through her lashes, and a smile that made her eyes sparkle. A surge of confidence filled his heart and convinced his mind. "Marinette, I will give you all the time you need to get used to the idea of my other side, but I want to tell you, I need to tell you, I love you. With all my heart. There is no one but you." Her lips stopped him from continuing, taking him by surprise with her gentle kiss. She paused, face red with a wide smile. He wrapped his arms around her waist as she brushed back his fringe against his hat, staring into his green eyes, studying them closely as if searching for something. "Hello, kitty. My princess," he muttered, leaning in and kissed her back. A sense of dizziness washed over him as his heart hammered in his chest and pulled back breathlessly. Her body did a little shudder against the cold in his arms, a signal they needed to keep moving and possibly find a cafe to get a warm drink after laying in the snow. "Would you like to get a hot chocolate? Warm ourselves up and I can finally show you what I had planned?" "Yeah, sounds good to me. I know a place nearby." Hand in hand, she guided him along a couple of streets until they saw a small bistro with only a few customers inside. "You grab us a table and I will get us the drinks. Would you like anything to eat?" He glanced at his watch. It was still too early for lunch, but he had missed breakfast with all the excitement of the day. "Can I have a peppermint hot chocolate? Oh, and a chocolate chip cookie, please?" He caught her glancing down at her purse as she made her way over to the table in the window. He couldn't help thinking if some of the cookie was for Tiki. Plag had referred to Marinette's crummy sugar cube, suggesting she liked sugar as much as his obsession over cheese, if that was possible. He chuckled at the thought until another took its place. Now that she knew he was Cat, he needed to confess to her about knowing her secret. But how and when? Adrien ordered himself a gingerbread latte and a croissant, whilst ordering Marinette. As he made his way back over to the table, he watched her folding the paper napkin into some form of shape while staring out the window, lost in thought. "Pennies for your thoughts?" "Oh, I don't know if they're worth a penny. I was just watching the snow, that's all." She tucked a stray piece of hair behind her ear and glanced down at a small creation in her hands. He knew her well enough by now when she was holding something back, but this was all new to both of them and didn't want to push. When she was ready, she would let him in fully. He hoped. "So, can I see this much-awaited design of yours?" "Now that you put it like that," he said, reaching into his bag and pulled out a small sketchbook. "I'm not a designer like you or a talented artist, so you have to bear with me." "Adrien, don't be so hard on yourself." She pulled the open book towards her and studied the images. "This is what you had in mind? Wow, it's fantastic and so different. It is a tree made of wire? It is fixed to a stone for a base?" "Yeah, I had the idea from the tree you designed for Thankful Day. You sure you like it?" "Honestly, I do. I'm not saying it because..." She flickered her eyes up and blushed a little before darting them back down, tracing her fingers along the branches of the design. "Are those flowers?" "Yeah, I was thinking gems or beads along the wire." "That's a great idea." "I was thinking, I saw some wire at Louis's place when we got the base for the tree. We could use that." "How big were you thinking it would be?" Adrien measured out his hands in front of him, almost knocking into the server bringing their food order. "So sorry." He gestured to take it from the guy and gave a half smile of sorry again. "I think..." She took a sip of the hot chocolate and swirled the candy cane around. "If you made it a little smaller, you could make it out of haberdashery wire and get a finer detail to it. I know I promised to take you back there." She smiled at the slight look of disappointment on his face. "And I will, but for this, I think you can get all you need from the craft shop. I can take you to see Louis in the new year, and we can work on another project together." "Yeah, I'd like that." He smiled whilst tearing off a piece of the puff pastry, causing crumbs to cascade around him like falling snow. She laughed. "Good. It's a date." They finished their snacks whilst discussing the finer details of the design and coming up with the next stages of the plan. Marinette's usual craft shop was a short walk from the bistro, but Adrien would have been happy to walk for miles for the chance to stroll with his princess through the snow, holding her hand. Marinette greeted the owner behind the counter of the shop like they were old friends, and handed him a basket. I made a list for all the things you might need. It should all be here. If not, I can ask Val to order it for you, and normally it only takes a few days to arrive. Great. Thank you again, Adrien. Again was that look, her ladybug look, that told him he didn't need to keep thanking her. He wondered if she knew the look she was giving him was the same. She stepped closer to him and whispered, "There is nothing I wouldn't do for the one I love," and kissed him softly on the cheek. He knew he had turned bright red, pulling at his scarf as if he needed to breathe, and it was at its fault. Yeah, me love nothing you too. Oh, smooth the grass. There goes your ability to speak again." She rolled her lips in an attempt to hold back a chuckle. "Why don't we start with the wire? It's over here." They spent the next hour filling up the basket as they wandered back and forth through the shop. Whilst Marinette was grabbing something else she needed for a project of her own, Adrien selected additional items to place on the tree as surprises and paid for everything, refusing her protest to pay him back for her items. "At least let me repay you with a late lunch as we get started. If you have time, that is." She gestured to the door as they stood outside the bakery. "Yeah, I should have a couple more hours before I need to sneak back in and my father returns." He pulled out his phone from his pocket and was happy to see no messages or missed calls. "Adrien," she leaned in closer, "you snuck out. Won't you be missed? What if they get worried and look for you?" "A perk of being her?" He wiggled his eyebrows at her. "How else do you think I could come? Anyway, I've had enough practice now at it, but generally, I'm never missed." He couldn't help dropping his tone at the last part and felt her give his hand a squeeze. "Shall we?" He gave her a reassured smile. They made their way up the stairs towards the empty apartment and saw 2 plates with handmade sandwiches sitting on the counter, waiting for them. The same homey warmth he had felt that night he had come round to watch White Christmas resurfaced as he imagined Sabine taking care to make her daughter and her friend food, made with love. His own words of not being missed came back to haunt him, as part of him wished he had someone back home to leave such gestures instead of empty dining rooms and food prepared by a chef, not a mother or a father. "Is everything all right?" Marinette smiled at him, pulling him out of the depressing thoughts. He nodded. "Can you take all this up to my room and I will grab the lunch? What would you like to drink? Can I get a glass of milk? You really are a cat, aren't you?" He shrugged his shoulders and threw her a smirk before ascending the stairs. She followed behind him with a tray in hand and placed it on the coffee table. He noticed a large piece of camembert on the side of his plate and smiled. She moved to a computer and placed on a song that he remembered from his childhood. She knelt down beside him and answered the question that must have been on his face. "It is number 7 on the album I gave you, the Christmas song." She looked at him, smiling, shaking her head. "I still can't believe that is you. I mean, I do now. It's starting to sink in and make sense, but all those times, those moments we shared together, the things I told you, but I'm glad I did. Tell Kitty, that is, for I don't think I could have as Adrien. That must sound strange." She covered her face with her hands. "I get it. I really do. I wanted to tell you, but that I was Cat, your kitty, but I couldn't, and yet I wanted to see you and spend time with you, share those special moments with you, fall in love with you." He encouraged one of her hands away and saw a nervous expression. "What is it?" "There is something I need to tell you, and I wasn't sure how to, especially now that I know you are Kitty, but I don't want it to change what we have or how you feel about me." He encouraged the other hand down and interlaced his fingers around hers. Because it might. I mean, how I've treated you in the past. Know that I love both sides of you, but I get it if... He softly kissed her on the lips, taking her by surprise. Bugaboo? I know. Her eyes widened. But how? When? I had my suspicions, but never concrete. The night you gave me the CD, and I was helping to look for it, I found a page from the grimoire. Plague tried his hardest to convince me otherwise, but I saw the signs I was blinded to before. Like you said, it all made sense. I wasn't sure I was going to tell you. I knew, and then I messed up revealing my own identity. It looks like I'm the one who messed up first. She lowered her eyes. He reached out and cupped her face, stroking his thumb against her jawline. But finding out my princess is also my lady? How I fell in love with you twice? I could only hope that you had fallen in love with me the once. He breathed, leaning his forehead against hers. I tried to convince myself that I wasn't falling in love with Cat. That I only had space in my heart for Adrien. You. And yet, the more I spent time with you as Marinette, I got to see a different side of my kitty. A softer side, and wasn't trying so hard to impress me, but rather be himself. She pulled back a little, locking onto his eyes. I love you, Adrien, my kitty. His heart overflowed with love for his lady in front of him. She told him. She let him in. Gently, he kissed her and felt her kissing him back. I love you, Marinette. They relaxed into a cuddle, saying all they wanted to say without the need for words until it was time for him to leave. The next 2 weeks passed in a rosy haze, still not able to believe his luck. Surprising everyone except Alia. Apparently, she knew it was a matter of time. That they were a couple on the Monday morning at school meant he could finally express how much Marinette meant to him. It took a couple of Akuma fights to get used to the new dynamics of their relationship, but now it was stronger than ever, knowing they held no secrets between the two of them. When he didn't have school or sneaking out and visiting Marinette as her kitty, Adrien worked on his project, making sure it was ready in time. He hand-painted the stone the tree was anchored onto, as he also chased Plague around his room, who threatened to pour paint the white sofa in exchange for his own selected cheesy Christmas present. To him, it was only fair. Cutting himself 3 times on the wire as he twisted it into shape before Marinette gifted him a pair of extra thick crafting gloves designed for this kind of work, and a pair of pliers she had presumed he knew he needed. He designed and ordered extra items from a local jeweler's, adding that special touch, and refused to answer any of Marinette's searching questions. Before he knew it, Christmas Eve had arrived, and he had a movie date with his girlfriend. He carefully wrapped his gift up and placed it into a box tied with a ribbon. This evening, he had convinced Natalie for the time to spend with his friends as his Christmas treat, unwilling to tell his father yet of his relationship with Marinette, fearful of what he might do or say to jeopardize it. That would be a challenge he would take on in the new year. Right now, he wanted to remain in the rosy haze of love. Marinette opened the bakery door, looking cute as a button in a Christmas jumper with snowflakes in the shape of a paw print, hand-knitted by herself, of course, whilst wearing reindeer antlers on her head that jingled as she moved. "Merry Christmas, my love," she whispered, gesturing him inside, away from watching eyes as his bodyguard before their usual hello kiss. He couldn't help but grin at the thought of kissing Marinette, his love as natural and second nature. As he was about to pull away, he felt her place a hat on his head and let out a cheeky laugh between the lips, which made his heart sing. My love, what? I made it for you, to go with your other gift. I'm glad to see you wearing. She smiled down at his own Christmas jumper she had presented to him the day before. She had designed it with the image of a snow cat with a ladybug perched on the top of his head. I love it. Thank you. Speaking of gifts, he teased the box out in front of him. Oh, I'm excited. Yours is under the tree. Wait, Marinette, I thought... He gestured to the jumper. You didn't need to. Silly kitty. The jumpers are to celebrate our first Christmas together. It's not your present. Plus, you know how much I enjoy making you things. She gave his blue scarf a playful tug. Suddenly feeling nervous about his own gift, not sure if it could measure up to what she had already given him, he gripped tightly onto the box as they climbed the stairs. Inside the apartment was the welcoming scent of mulled spices from the cider on the stove, and the warm glow of candles dotted around the room as the tree lights sparkled. Treats of mostly cheese and cookies lay on the coffee table, and the film The Grinch on pause. My mum and papa are out visiting friends this evening, so I thought we could watch the film down here, if that's okay with you. She gestured her arms wide at her effort to make it a magical Christmas date. Sounds perfect to me, princess. He took in all the details she had added in, knowing he would remember this night in decades to come. Marinette, this is wonderful. If this was my gift alone, it would be more than enough. But it's not, so take a seat, please, she said with a wink. Can I request to go first? Feeling the nervous bubbles inside of him, she nodded and sat down next to him, grinning at the box he placed into her hands. Merry Christmas, my love. As she opened the lid, her eyes widened in awe. She lifted it out as the tiny gems on the tree glistened against the candlelight. Her fingers delicately touched each of the dangling charms he had woven into the tree to make it look like they were hanging from the branches. Each one was made to remember all the moments we have shared together as both sides of us. I have also made it so that we can add more in time to come, as we spend our lives together. The gems are rose quartz for love and, well, roses. Adrien, this is amazing. I was kind of hoping it was from me. She gave him a playful smile. But this? The amount of love and effort you have put into it means more than you could ever know. He leaned in and stroked away a tear which had trickled down her cheek. You mean the world to me, and you made my Christmas wish come true. All I wanted for Christmas, Marinette, was you. Thank you for listening to the final part of All I Wanted for Christmas. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you smash that like button if you did. Send me some love. I'm sorry this is literally coming out after the new year. It's 2 days after the new year. But yeah, it took a bit longer and everything to get out, but I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you comment down below what you thought of it, and make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on future gems to come in January. And oh, there's so much I have planned for you in February, so hope you enjoyed, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.